Good day, my beloved students. I'm so delighted to see you today and to have a contact class with you today. I use this opportunity to welcome you to IOL and to congratulate you to have passed your assignment, the 2022 assignment. I'm your contact tutor for computer studies for the advanced certificate in secondary education. My name remains Edo Triumph. So today I'm going to give you what is known as examination-based presentation for the ACSE and DSE students. This presentation is for the April, August, and November 2022 examination. I'm here to guide you, not to give you a scope. I do always emphasize this all the time, that at IOL we don't give students scope. We don't come and tell you these are the topics you must read, these are the topics or the units that you must study only for the examination. We don't give area of concentration. What we do, we prepare you for everything. We prepare you for everything. So don't call at the end of the exam and tell me, Mr. Edo, but that question that in question 1 or question 2, you never spoke about it. No, I'm here to guide you on the exam, not to give you questions. When you collect your question paper, you will be required to answer all the questions on that paper. There will be no practical section. So in my presentation, I'm going to guide you in 2 ways. I'll give you the general guidelines first of all. Then I will give you the technical guidelines in relation to this subject. What are the general guidelines I'm going to give to you first of all? One is to encourage you and to advise you to review your assignment questions. To review your assignment questions. You see, you wrote an assignment, you submitted it, I marked it, I returned it to you, good. You pass. Doesn't mean you should throw it away. The assignment, one of the purposes of an assignment for distance learning student is to prepare the learner for the examination. That is why your assignment has the same format with your examination. So, when I was done marking your assignment, I wrote a comment, a student comment. Those comments that I gave to you, please go through them. The feedback that I gave to you, please go through them. Look at especially areas of my recommendations and suggestions. Please look at them. Then beside the specific feedback that I gave to you on your individual assignment, I equally compiled a general feedback that focuses on the general performance of student on that paper. So the general feedback is on your student portal. What you should do is to download that feedback and look at it. The next thing I'm going to advise you and encourage you to do is download past examination question papers. As I always say, a child cannot get lost easily in his village because he's used to all the roads and the crews and corners of that village. He can easily find his way. He knows the place, he knows the terrain. Even at night, he can walk home. But a visitor to a village at times find it very difficult. Don't be a visitor to your examination question paper. You can be a visitor to your examination question paper if the first day you see an examination question paper is the examination hall. So for you not to be a visitor to your examination question paper, what it means is that practice with the old question papers. The structure of the questions are the same. Even the questions are not the same. The structure, the format are the same. So practice with old question paper. Where can you get them? They are on your student portal. Download them and go through them. A word of caution is, do not download the question and send them to me to answer. It will not help you. Download them, attempt them, practice with them. Where you are stuck, where you probably confused, you don't know what to do, then you can contact me at that point. I will be readily available to help you. I am paid to do that. The next thing that I will encourage you to do, that which I really want you to do, is get familiar with your course outline and model. Study guide also. Your course outline tells you the expected learning outcome that you should know. So you get your course outline and your study guide. How do you use it? You look at a particular course outline, topic 1. You look at that topic, you go to your study guide, you open that topic and read it. When you are done studying it in your study guide, there are practice questions at the back of every unit. Practice with those topics, with those questions, to see if you understand the topic. Above all, if you need help, free to contact me. When you take your question paper, question 1 is always about explain the following computer terms. That is always my question 1. Define the following computer terms, or explain the following computer terms. Terms like video conferencing, expert system, computer virus, email, RAM, card, data lodging, simulation farming, sensor, server, and so on and so forth. I can ask you to explain or to define any of these. It does not matter, these are the ones that I'm going to ask you. I'm just using these as an example. The question is, when you are asked to explain, what does it mean to explain? What does it mean to define? Let me give you one example. I ask you to explain or to define CAD. As you look at that CAD, can you see CAD is all written in capital letter? It means it is not a word on its own. It's an acronym. And when you want to answer a question that has to do with acronym, the first thing is to give the meaning of each of the alphabet there. C is for what? A is for what? D is for what? Computer aided design. Computer aided design. So first of all, give to the examiner the meaning of that acronym, then explain what it is used for, and give example where it is appropriate. When you are explaining or defining the computer terms, use the technical professional words. For example, you say computer virus. How will you define computer virus? I feel students that want to define computer virus and they say computer virus is a disease of the computer. Computer virus is something that makes the computer not to work. The question is, I take my red pen and underline something. What is something? Some will tell you it's a stuff that makes, what is stuff? It's a disease. So define it technically. These are computer programs that, you see what I'm saying? Define it professionally. So, at times you ask students to define hardware. The hardware is anything that we can see and touch. So the question I ask you that, can you see me? You say yes. Can you touch me? You say yes. Am I a hardware? Yeah, I'm not a hardware. I'm a human being. What am I trying to say? Give professional definitions using the technical words related to the definition. Don't give a general dictionary or street way of explaining it. Otherwise, you lose marks, which I don't want. Besides the question 1 that asks you to define some specific terms in computer, you will see other variety of questions that comes with various lengths and difficulties and different examination verbs, such as discuss, analyze, describe, and so on and so forth. Let us look at a sample question and how to answer it. As the name suggests, this is a sample question. It doesn't mean that it's a question that I will ask you in the examination hall. Let's look at the question. A company making televisions has introduced robots to replace the human workforce. A company making TV has introduced robots to replace the human workforce. Now the question is this. Describe any 3 effects these would have on the workforce. Who are the workforce? The employees. So if a robot is introduced to replace the human workforce, how will these affect the workforce? Effects. 3 effects. Question B says, give any 2 advantages to the company of introducing robot. Let us see how to answer question 1. Describe any 3 effects how it will affect the workforce. When you introduce a robot to do the work of a human being, how will it affect the workforce? It will lead to loss of jobs, that is unemployment. It will lead to de-skilling. It can lead to retraining for you to be retrained, and so many other things. For you to earn full marks in this type of question, you need to describe your point, not just stating your points. Describe your point. Do not just... If you look at my screen, what I've done is I mentioned my point. I stated my point, but I did not describe it. So if you do this for me, if the answer, if the mark to that question is 3 marks, you get 1. The other 2 goes for description. So you must know how to describe. Another one, the question B says, give any 2 advantage to the company of introducing robots. To the company. To the company. It didn't say to the employer now. To the organization holistically. One of them is lower workforce cost, because salaries will be reduced because robots are being used now. Don't you think it's an advantage? If I use robot, I don't need to pay salaries, lower environmental costs, higher throughput, and so on. When robots are introduced, one advantage of the company is there is work going 24 hours because nobody is knocking off. The machine don't knock off. Robot don't knock off. They don't go on leave. They don't go on maternity leave. They don't go on sick leave. There's no holiday. There's no 5 o'clock we knock off. Those are advantages to the organization. They don't go on strike. They don't ask for salary increment. So when you use robots, they're advantage to the organization. So you must pay attention in this type of question. Is the question asking you advantages to the organization, or advantages to the workers, or advantages to the owner of the business? The questions are always very specific. Let's look at some more technical areas now. Monitoring and control system. Monitoring and control system. It's one of the topics that students find it a bit difficult to answer. That is why I brought it up. What is monitoring and control system all about? It's a system whereby you use the computer to monitor and control other independent systems. It's where you use the computer to monitor and control other independent systems. And how does this work? There are 3 stages that are involved in monitoring and control system. You have the input, the processing, and the output. Generally, in computer science, there are always 3 stages: the input, the processing, and the output. Now, let us describe it. In the monitoring and control system, what happens is that we have what is called sensors. And I'm sure by now, as computer science student, you should know what is called sensors. Sensors are devices that react to our environmental changes. So what happens is that the sensor is the one that captures the data automatically. The sensor captures the data automatically without the human intervention. After the sensor captures the data, the sensor will now convert the data from analog to digital. Why? Because the language of the computer is in digital form. So if you put the data that were captured, because the data were captured in analog form, and you send the data in analog to the computer, which is a digital device, it won't be able to process it. So the sensor captures the data. Then we have this device that we call analog digital converter. The analog digital converter will now convert the data from analog to digital form and send it into the computer. The computer now, that is the microprocessor, we are now on the processing stage. The microprocessor will now process the data that we are sent to it now and give an instruction to the output device on what to do. So the computer will process, then decide on what to do, but the computer, the processing will not do it. It will not give instruction to the output device on how to carry it out. Talking about sensors, there are different types of sensors. We have temperature sensors that detect how the heat is changing, that detect how the temperature is changing. The temperature become too high, too low. There are sensors that detect that. That is why when you drive your car and your car is getting too hot, your radiator is not cooling, and you feel that the car is too hot, you will see something on your screen that shows you that this is getting too hot. So there are sensors that detect heat. There are light sensor, there are sound sensor, humidity sensor, how wet or dry the air is. There are infrared sensors that dictate movement, like the one we have at our homes or offices, what we call the alarm system. All right. There are temperature that determines the proximity, how far or how close you are. All right. There are different types of sensor, but the work of sensor is to detect data, detect in the data. Let's look at this diagram to use it to explain it in a very more easier way. Can you see all those sensors? What they do is that they detect changes in the environment. Okay, so they serve as the input device now. But in their own case, they caption the data automatically. Then after capturing the data, they send the data into the computer so that the computer can process the data. The computer will look at the data and instruct what to be done. After the computer looks at the data, it will give instruction to the output devices telling them what to do, either to sound the alarm or to turn off the light or to print particular something. It will tell the output what to do. The output is just to carry out the instruction that comes from the computer. So the sensor gets the data, send them to the microprocessor. The microprocessor processes the data and give an instruction to the output device, please do this. That's why you go to a door, the door just opens. Who opens it? What happens, the sensor captures your movement or your proximity that you are close to the door. It sends it to the computer. The computer tells the actuator. The actuator opens the door. An actuator can be an electrical device or a mechanical device that carries out the instruction of a computer. What are the advantages of using computer to control devices rather than human being? What are the advantages of using a computer to control devices? They are cheaper. You don't need to employ a lot of people. They are safer, especially in organizations that has to deal with chemical plants or radioactive sites. Where you have so many radioactive sites and human beings have to go there, your health is at risk. Even chemical plants, your health is at risk because it can explode anytime with a mistake of an employee. So in such risky area, work condition that could be too dangerous for people, the best you can do is to use computer to control the devices instead of a human being. And computers are more accurate in terms of speed, they are faster and they are better. So there are quite a lot of advantages of using computer to control other devices. Let us look at this example. Look at that gentleman. He's getting close to an infrared sensor for security purpose. This one is like those ones we have at home or the offices. You see them, they are placed at strategic angles in the room or in the environment. So when you get close, they detect your movement. The sensor is the one that will detect your movement. When the sensor detects your movement, because the data that is captured, it is in analog, the wave you see here. It is in analog. You cannot send it directly to the computer because the computer is not an analog device. The computer is a digital device. So this device that is here, that is called ADC, analog digital converter, it converts the data from analog to digital. This is the zeros and ones you see here. Then it sends it to the processor. The processor will process the data and give an instruction to the output on what to do, either to send an alarm or to put on a light or to close the door. It will always instruct the computer and the output on what to do. So 3 stages that are involved. There are quite a lot of them that I can show you in this presentation. Let me tell you a little bit about the heating, the central heating. You have a central heating, or let me give you another example. Okay, let me use the one that is here for you. You have a central heating system that at a particular time, the heating should happen. At a particular time, the heating should not take place. So what happened here is that the data are collected. They are not sent into the computer. In the computer, there is a pre-defined data. Let's say, for example, there's a program that says that if the room temperature is below 25, this is what the computer should do. If it is less than 25, this is what the computer should do. So the sensor will caption the data. The heat sensor will caption the data and send it to the computer. The computer look at it. What is the data sent to me? 25. If it is 25 or is below 25, what should happen? Air condition, turn on the heat. Air condition, turn off the heat. So in a very simple way, the sensor will capture the data, send it to the processor. The processor will look at the predefined instruction because the person who wrote the program already has written in there. If it is less than 20, put on the air condition. If it's less than 25, this, turn off the air condition. So if you look at what I have written here, look at the bottom of my screen. The heat sensor constantly takes in data. The computer will check data against the optimal temperature of 25. When the computer checks, if it is less than 25, the computer will tell this heating system to turn on. Then the heating system will turn on the heating system. Then you can see some of the heating systems just turning on, working on their own. Whenever the computer receives another data from the sensor, and that data is less or I mean that data is greater than 25, the computer will tell the heating system, please turn it off. So you see that there's nobody there to control the air condition. Some of us, we have these air conditions that are automated at home. So nobody controls it. At a particular time, it will turn off. At a particular time, it will turn on. How will the air conditioner know that the room is too cold? Let me turn it off. How will the air conditioner know the room is too hot? Let me turn on. Who is telling the air conditioner to turn on and to turn off? Nobody is there. It's the computer, it's the control and monitoring system that is controlling it so that it can turn off at a particular time and turn on at a particular time. So read more about control and monitoring system. It's a topic that has so much love and is always in my question in most time when I give question. Let's look at another very important area that always feature in your examination question. That is the use of Microsoft Excel and the use of Microsoft Access. Let us focus first on Microsoft Access. You see, Microsoft Access, Microsoft Excel, as I always say, they are like Holy Communion in the Catholic Church. You cannot get a computer question and not see a question on Microsoft Access, or you will not see a question on Microsoft Excel. You will always see a question on these two. How do you answer questions on them? First, let us look at Microsoft Access, that is database. Here is a table. One of the questions they ask you is that how many columns does it have? How do you count your columns? The columns are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this database has 7 columns. It has 7 columns. Then we have how many rows now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 rows, 7 columns. Then another primary question they can ask you is this. They give you a condition. This is a condition written here. Look at sample question D. A condition is written here. Then they ask you this question. Using species only, write down which data item will be output. Now, where is my condition? When you see a statement in Microsoft Access, how do you interpret your condition? There are 2 things that are written in a condition. 2 things are written there. The name of the feed and the condition. The name of the feed and the condition. Now, where is the name of the feed? Here. Number of hosts is the name of the feed. Greater than 17 is the condition. So, number of hosts greater than 17 and remove host chicks should be yes. Let's go back to our table. Number of hosts. Can you see that now? So I have to look for the number of hosts greater than 17. Here is one of them. Red-chested cuckoos is greater than 17. But will I pick red-chested cuckoos as one of my answer? Before I should do that, first of all, look at the second condition, which is this. Remove host chicks should also be yes. Why? I have and here. Before I can write any species name, that species must meet this condition and this condition. If it does not meet these 2 conditions, then it does not qualify. Why? Because I am using and. So if I go back, I will say remove host chick is yes. Let us see. Yes is greater than 17. Remove host chick is yes. So red-chested cuckoos meets the condition. I will write it down. Which of them again is greater than 17? 17 here. 17 cannot be greater than 17, so I will not take it. 17 is equal 17. Then I look at another number that is greater than 17. 19, yes. But is my red hot chick yes? Yes. So I will take this also as an answer. This one also as an answer. This might be difficult now. Look at the name of the feed. Look at the condition. Go to the table and see which of the record meets that condition. What I want to continue to emphasize is if your operator, your logical operator, the end, if it is end, before you can pick that record, make sure it meets this condition and this condition. It meets this condition and this condition. Now let's look at the last question here, sample question. Write down a query to select which species number of hosts are less than 10 or remove their host chicks from the nest. Here, you are asked to write a condition that looks like this. Here, you were told to give the answer to this condition, but here, you are told to write a condition yourself. How do you write a condition yourself? To write a condition, only two things you need. To write a condition, you only need two things. The name of the feed and the name of the role. The name of the feed and the name of the role. Then you join them together with an operator. How do you fish out the names of the role? Let us read this question. Write down a query to select which species, number of hosts. Can you see that now? Number of hosts, that is my feed. So if I go back, can you see number of hosts, number of hosts? That is my feed. So I will write number of hosts. That is my feed now. I will just write number of hosts. What is my condition here? Less than 10. So I will just say less than 10. Then I'll put it in brackets. What is going to be my operator? They say or, so or is going to be here, not end. Or. Then you look at the second feed. Remove their host chicks. Go back to the table. Remove host chicks. I will write here. Remove host chicks. What did they say? Remove host chicks from the nest. Remove host chicks. Is that yes or no? It is yes. If it was to be no, it could have been do not remove host chicks. But because they write remove host chicks, it means it is yes. If it was to be no, it will be do not remove host chicks. So I will now say remove host chicks, yes. So you just write the condition there. So the common questions on Microsoft Excel is how many columns, how many rows, what is a primary key feed. They give you a condition to interpret or they ask you to write a condition yourself. Check my past examination question paper, download them on Microsoft Access and see how the questions are and get used to it. Microsoft Excel, you cannot escape it. On Microsoft Excel, we focus mostly on the use of formulas. We focus on the use of formulas. How do you write formulas on Microsoft Excel? But to bring one thing to your attention, when you are going to write a formula, the first thing that you must write is equal sign. You must write the equal sign. If you write a formula and the equal sign is not there, automatically it's wrong. I don't even check anything again. The equal sign is the first thing for you to write. The equal sign. Then when you are writing formula in Excel, please, the multiplication sign is the asterisk. The asterisk, not the one you use in mathematics. The multiplication sign. Also, our division sign is the slash. The slash. These are minor things that make students to fail at times, although they know it, but make sure there is equal sign. If you have to write multiplication, use the asterisk. Then, if you are asked to count how many columns are in a particular spreadsheet. If you are counting your columns have the alphabet. This is column A, column B, column C, column D, column E. Okay, so these are just 5 columns. You don't count these as part of your columns. All right? Then how many rows? Row 1, row 2, row 3. These are 10 rows. So know how to count your rows and how to count your columns. So these are some of the common questions in Microsoft Excel. Besides that, in Microsoft Excel, you should know how to use your functions, your formula, how to write your formulas, and how to use your functions. The most common functions we use are sum, average, mean, max. Okay? How do you use your functions? Please, you should know how to use them. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is the gates, the logic gates. The logic gate, you must know how to draw a gate and how to draw the truth table. The truth table is quite very easy. If you don't know the truth table, you cannot answer the questions of logic gates. Look at, for example, the end. Whenever you have the truth table, one thing it tells you about the end is that for your output to be 1, it means both your input and your output must be 1 before your output can be 1. That is the end. Now, when you talk about the OR, it means either the A, input A, or input B can be 1. Then the output will be 1. Either A or B can be 1, then the output can be 1. Otherwise, it is 0. So practice about the drawing of the gate and the truth table, because they will help you in solving your logic gate problems. Let's look at one logic gate and question. Let me read it. A system uses 3 switches, A, B, and C. A combination of switches determines whether an alarm X should sound. Now here is the condition now. If switch A or B are in the on position. Let's stop there first. If switch A or B are in the on position, on is 1. On is yes in logic. So it means, you say A is on, meaning A is 1. B is on, meaning B is 1. So that is why you see me here when I wrote it, A is 1. Why did I say A is equals to 1? Because in my logic statement, they've told me A is on the on, meaning A is equal 1. B is on, meaning B is equal 1. That is why I have B is 1, equal 1. A is equal 1. I'm giving you time to think about it. Again, Mr. Edo, where is this or coming from, Mr. Edo? Look at my statement. A or B. Can you see now? That is where I have the or. A is or switch B. I have A or switch B. Both of them are on, meaning both of them are 1, 1. That is why I have A equal 1 or B is equal 1. Can you see how I drafted it? Continue the reading. And, so I have my and here. C is on the off. Off means 0. Off means no. So it means C, it is not 1. C is 0. If we say C is off, it means C is 0. To make it easier, we always say C is not 1, instead of saying C is equals to 0. So you can see the way I've translated my statement. From here, I can draw my gates. So you have to practice how to translate your statement to a logic and draw your gates. Brothers, sisters, beloved students, practice your algorithm and programming. Your declaration of a program, how to use statement, and the rest. Here is an example of a program. Go through it. How to declare your variables, the different types of variables, numeric variables and otherwise. But when it comes to programming, you are allowed to write your program using any language. So free to use any programming language to write your program. But remember the difference between algorithm and the real program. I still have a lot to tell you, but unfortunately my studio engineer have told me time is up. Go through my presentation and get back to me online. I will teach you more, know about your flowchart and the different type of flowchart symbols and how to complete a trace table. I wish you all the best in your examination, to come victorious, to come successful. I love you all. See you the day you graduate. Thank you.